Hello, everybody, and welcome as we are going to get this wonderful day started with some amazing Overwatch brought to you by the Eurocup Fundraiser Overwatch. And I am with the amazing and just absolutely lovely Necro this morning. How are you doing, darling?
I'm doing great. Good morning. It is very early for us across the pond, but we are so
Yes.
excited to be here to cast this incredible semifinals match.
Yes, it's going to be absolutely fantastic. It is between the teams of Italy and Denmark today, as we have seen them just consistently progress through the brackets, starting this first semi match off today. And honestly, I'm really looking forward to it because
Hmm.
I have Italian heritage, so I'm curious to see how
Oh.
that's going to pan out. But again, we got to see these two. I'm not going to favor anybody, but that made me kind of happy that I was ironically casting my own heritage. So we're good there.
I'm not Denmark, or I'm not from Denmark, so I don't have any bias here. Um, but it is super exciting to see these two teams battle it out. And I've been so excited watching all of the Euro Cup because of how much we've been able to get done. Like we've already fundraised
Mhm.
so much money to send some of these World Cup teams to the Overwatch World Cup at BlizzCon this year, and I just can't wait to see kind of who's going to take it all home.
Definitely. And like you said, again, for those that, maybe newer to the Euro Cup, to see exactly what the fundraising is for, it's to attempt and allow these teams across the world to participate in World Cup itself. It's allowing them to generate money for, travel, for housing, to participate and be involved in the amazing tournament. And it's one of those just great things that has slowly but surely grown in its organization to give
Mhm.
these players an opportunity to be up there and to show not only their recognition amongst their countries but also just amongst fellow gamers. And it's a really great opportunity to be able to cast it, as it looks like now we are going to be getting in shortly between Italy and Denmark, and it will be Nepal first here for the control map. So it's going to be a good starting map here. I think Nepal has a lot of opportunity for both these teams, especially with the release of Sigma,
Mhm.
the type of adjustment for environmental kill opportunity. And what do you think we're going to kind of see coming out into, this first map of Nepal?
Well, control maps are really special because you have three different stages that you could play on, and all
Mhm.
of them have unique properties that require something different from teams that to adapt to. So you might play on Nepal Shrine, where you can kind of have like verticality to play with, or you might be playing on Sanctum, which has that massive environmental pit,
Mhm.
right? So you just have to kind of have to play around with that and make this stage yours. And that's what I expect to see from both Italy and Denmark here as we enter the semifinals on this first map.
And Necro, I wanted to kind of elaborate a little further since you were talking about at least some of those things like
Hmm.
verticality on this map. And with that being said, we've been able to at least see in some of the Overwatch League playoff season. Now
Hmm.
we've seen, the integration of Sigma, this Arisa Sigma combination,
Yeah.
and it's synergizing very well. We've also seen, some Doomfist Sigma combinations with Flux having the Meteor Strike coming out. It's really nice synergies. What do you think these two teams will do going into this? Do you think they'll take the time to practice this type of Sigma play to maybe throw off, their opponent, or are they going to maybe stick to something they're a little bit more
Hmm.
comfortable with? And I'm curious of your take on that.
Well, I will speak at least to the Arista Sigma combination that we've seen on the front lines of some of the team strategies. And I just think it's really strong. You've got the
Mhm.
deployable barrier that Sigma has that can start to create some space, have Arista walk up behind it, and kind of start trading off because you have a deployable barrier of your own. And the amount of shield that's there is enough to walk through any small choke as long as you are taking those steps and pressing that W key. So I think those two heroes in tandem work really great to create that space, which also allows your DPS in this 222 meta to pop off. And
Mhm.
we've seen some incredible play from like McCree's, and even Symmetra has been seeing some play also in like the Overwatch League, which is just nuts to me.
Yeah, it
But
it
it's been
really
great.
is. Yeah, and like you said, especially with, that positioning when it comes to, the Sigma Shield along with the Orisa, the other thing that's been really beneficial that we've seen a lot of is being able to hold off a two choke point entryway,
Yeah.
because you have that Sigma barrier constantly refreshed, able to, digress back if needed from a high ground or even a low ground position, and the Orisa still maintaining that refresh. It's really difficult for an offensive team to
Hmm.
push onto a point because of just so much damage prevention.
It can be very difficult, and we have some incredible DPS players on both Italy and Denmark. And so I have a feeling that both of these teams are really going to rely on putting in that frontline pressure to like enable their DPS in the backlines to really hit those shots. On Denmark, I'm just excited to kind of to see how they're really going to fare here. But you've got Fisher on Denmark's
Mhm.
team that really likes to play Hanzo, Mei, Genji. I bet we're going to see some of that May play. We've seen a lot of May Reaper, at least in my own comp
Yeah.
games.
Yeah, I was just about to say that's been very, very popular ever since the 222, grid has really come present. It's
Mhm.
been very dominant in that fashion.
Yeah. Well, let's get into it, shall we, Rich?
Yes,
As we
indeed.
kick things off.
It's going to be here in Nepal. As you can see, we will have these two teams going at one another as we do have on the left-hand side. It will be Italy, Denmark on the right, as you can see it. And with this 20 seconds to go, like I said, I'd be not surprised to see, the far play in the high ground,
Mhm.
maintaining that. We'll see, those really great utilization of shields here. I almost kind of want to see these teams utilize that Arisa Sigma. I know I'm like calling it out a little early because we don't know exactly what they're going to pick, but it'd be really interesting to see how they're going to utilize it as well and how, they fend off in this type of play.
Yeah, I mean, we're at least seeing Arista Sigma as we see team preview reveal itself. On Denmark's side, Henningsen and Narga are going to be bringing up the front lines with that incredible shield pressure. And lo and behold, we're seeing some May Reaper too, but it's on the other side of the field. So Italy's going to have a really difficult time kind of playing around creating frontline pressure with ISO on the Orisa and Kuznetsov on the Diva. They're going to have to play this a little bit slower just because Heartbeat and Lil Young on that May and Reaper respectively are going to want to chase down targets.
As they start to approach this point, maneuvering onto the point right now, getting a lot of harass there. The Halts bringing them out into the open and sticking clear of that outside position, but does get booped. Will be brought down. Early pick here for the side of Denmark. Numbers advantage as they get a second to follow up, and they're just looking to quickly clean up after that early boop kill onto the May.
Oh, and they're going to clean up pretty quickly. Losing your support early is going to really enable you to kind of take the point. So I think Denmark really played it well in terms of what they needed to focus down. Here's them taking the point, and now it's going to be super tough for Italy to come in and really remove them from this point. They get to hunker down in the corner, and they also have a lot of long-range jammer with Fisher to kind of slow down Italy's progress.
As they look to try and take this high ground position, they want to maybe harass. There we go. We got the drop down, forcing the Reaper. Lil Young having to be very careful here. Ice walls, both sides will be used, blocking them in. Nice early rockets coming out to take out Fisher. Narga going down as well by the boop. This might just be a quick turnaround. Coalesces to come out, but Death Blossom in retaliation to do some work. But this back and forth fight consistently will go on, finally going in favor of Italy. Really not able to hold down regardless of that bunker type composition with Sigma and Arisa. You see Lil Young just cleaning up right at the tail end of it, getting a lot of value out of this and having the Death Blossom of their own.
I'm really proud of Italy in this situation, knowing that it was going to be difficult to come back and take this point, but they just decided to press W and go into the enemy team, and look at how well that worked out for them. Now Italy has control of the point, and Denmark's playing on the back foot. Without that Reaper Death Blossom in tow, they're going to have to face against Lilians.
And to be honest, I feel that Denmark could have held off a little bit more. They've got the ultimate economy here to still work with, but with that late stagger that they had trying to re-engage that fight to hold the point for moments longer, really gave them a disadvantage. And now you see Italy with 5 ultimates, gonna be 6.
Yeah, it is going to be almost a full slate of ultimates there. And I think it's going to be important to watch out for some of those DPS ultimates because there isn't too much that the sound barrier can really... It can't deal with both, right? So you really got to pick and choose your battles here on Denmark.
Now with the supercharger dropping by Henningsen in the backside, looking to give the extra boost, but Blizzard immediately placed onto the entire team with a Dead Blossom to follow up. Lil Young gaining now 1 with that ultimate usage, and they still look to hold on to 3 here. Great utilization of these ultimates and ready for this next fight for Italy.
Yeah, it's a good rotation that Italy is kind of getting on, and it's just go ahead and use the Snow Globe Death Blossom approach, is what I would like to call it, with Heartbeat
Yes.
and Lil Young there. And you can see how much damage that can really do. It just eats through that sound barrier. So now we already see Denmark without that like just an incredible ultimate there, and they have to rely on this Moira coalescence going in.
Self-destruct trying to gain some value, will not find anybody as the supercharger gets a lot of damage, does go down though. You see Scalar on the top with that coalescence managing to take down the supercharger, no longer having the boosted damage, starting to go back into favor of Denmark here as they no longer allowed the boost from Italy to keep strong. They're still looking to try and harass, buying as much time. Baby Deep is going to go down, doesn't want to force the mech, and at this point now they're just really using the cryo freeze as they look to actually re-engage it. The Death Blossom still available by Shaxx and gonna hold on to it.
He's gonna hold on to it to the last possible second because look at how Italy still has control of this point, but oh no!
And Wrecking Ball gains 2, but Narga gets 2 of their own. Consistently fighting as the overtime does begin. Numbers advantage still in favor of Denmark. They're starting to stack up the ultimates here. If they can work through this fight, they'll be in a good position to switch it over and have an ultimate economy very formidable right now, as you see Italy with no ultimates except for potentially the sound barrier.
Yeah, the sound barrier is really key, though. The sound barrier could actually give Italy a fighting chance to come back to this point. But they kind of have to decide, is it worth using the sound barrier here, or do we want to save it for a potential last fight? Because if they don't engage now, this is going to be last fight territory.
75%. Here comes that last engage supercharger drop on the side of Denmark to get the boosted damage, and Blizzard by Fisher looking to lock down the few members as possible. Does get one, will be brought down. Hearth no longer available for that fight, as this might have just been a really, really good turnaround as they're trying to stagger back by Italy.
And Italy has to come in and come quickly because that timer is ticking down, and Narca going up in the front just to see if they can build up to that ultimate and keep them off the point.
Ooh, barely getting there in time. Sigma now going to use Flux onto the point, knocking up several members by Narga to see if they can turn it around. Halt's gonna early onto the Death Blossom as well. Just one pick after another. That's what really happens when you utilize and manage the ult economy towards the end of it through sheer will. Fighting by Denmark, securing this first map.
Securing the first map, but look at how close that score line is, Rich. Like when you're playing at this level, you really are looking for the little mistakes that the other team makes that you can in turn create an advantage for yourself. And in this situation, when we had that back and forth, it really was, okay, Italy has control of the point. Oh no, looks like they don't have anything for this set of ultimates. Denmark's going to come back in and take it. And then Italy didn't really have a chance to come back in. So it's going to be so close with this next match. And this is what you expect to see here in the semifinals.
It really is. And then even further, like we said, just to like emphasize that factor of wanting those types of fundraising capabilities to be a part of Worlds, to represent your country is so high and just important on their shoulders as they're going to go into the second map and try and see if they can turn it back around on the side of Italy.
Yeah, they are going to try to turn this around. But meeting on point, we're going to see very similar compositions to what we saw on Sanctum.
Now going to try and get that quick engage. Shaxx in the back doing a lot of damage, but the Fortify will withstand quite a bit of it. Lil Young actually getting the first pick, though. Denmark now losing another. Lil Young just popping off right now with the triple, having so much room to work, generating already 40% of the ultimate, and in a good spot as they will force the remaining members of Denmark off the point, and they're coming back with a vengeance.
It's really great to see how Italy is playing together as a unit. I mentioned before that it could be difficult for them to sync up the kind of aggro of the DPS with the aggro of the tanks. And they're doing that to great effect here as they take control of this point and try to keep Denmark at bay.
As they try to approach Denmark, looking to get some nice separation with the wall. Can they lock down one member with that freeze coming out from the Mei on Fisher? As they really just are a scrappy fight right now. Lots of ultimates also being used. You do see the Coalescence will have the Blizzard as well. But no, it's actually going to not gain too much value here on that lower section. Actually, they're going to get quite a bit of it after taking a better look from the side there as they get a nice double kill coming out by the Lucio.
Oh, and now that they've used the Blizzard, they're getting ready to use that Death Blossom too. So Italy has a game plan, and it's going to be rotating through those DPS ults because they're so impactful. And because Denmark has gone in and gotten taken down so quickly, Kellex hasn't had a chance to build up to that sound barrier yet. So this is going to be a lethal combination coming in from Italy this next turn.
And they're still trying to maintain that high ground. Almost gets the halt out into the open onto Kellex on the high ground, taking out the Lucio, but they've managed to regroup. Attacking forward, leads with that Coalescence. Halt to pull multiple members up. Really not going to gain too much value. They at least saw it with the Supercharger, so they can boost in the back line, getting very low. The aggression is there. Denmark will also drop the Blizzard. Self-destruct only going to gain the Supercharger. Really won't gain anything else to try and help turn this around. And that's going to close it out here with now Denmark turning it back over. Even though there's the few stragglers remaining from Italy, they're just wanting to buy as much percent as they can.
And they did buy a lot of percent. They're now in last fight territory. So Italy's win condition is getting in there, using their Death Blossom, using Frey's Coalescence, and getting very aggressive into the team of Denmark. And if they're able to do that and they're able to take control of the point, then Denmark might not have enough time to come back as a team of 6. So here's where it comes down to.
Ooh, early separation. That is very difficult for them with that Maywall, but Lil Young still manages to get a good pick regardless of being separated and now having the numbers advantage on the side of Italy, leading with the Coalescence, going to have the Death Blossom in the backside, getting a double with the Sound Barrier to support that Death Blossom as the return will happen, but going down. Unbelievable job by Italy using that sound barrier to withstand the incoming damage, not only from the side of Denmark, but also from the counter Death Blossom by Shax.
Yeah, great use of ultimates here coming out from Italy, and now they also have an ability to hold on to this point for the last final seconds. Heartbeat's ready to go with not only a wall to keep everybody off, but also that Blizzard to slow them down in case they get too close to that point.
Last 3%, they have to force it. The wall is there. Can they touch it in time? And they're barely going to be able to do it as you see the Wraith form comes out on the front by Shax to make sure to get back into it. Having the numbers on the point in favor of Italy, trying to get as many out of the fight early. Shax going to gain one onto Little Young, a primary focus that we've seen do so well, and the Supercharger now going to come out to try and give some extra assistance here as this overtime still whittles away. You see the return damage now, getting the Reaper by Shax, doing lots of damage. Will have a numbers advantage now in favor of Denmark. It's going to be a 5 versus 1 left, as they have a chance to turn it back around here and just really stagger it out.
They do stagger it out, but take a look at the fact that we still have about a minute remaining, and the amount of time that Italy has to work up to a couple more ultimates. They're going to have a Coalescence for this next engagement here, but they're going to have to worry about Denmark coming back with a Coalescence of their own. There aren't too many ways that you can engage this point, and either way is going to be a pretty bad corridor to walk down if you're going to be walking into a Coalescence.
Now, as they take the high ground, once again, you see the Doom looking for the engage. Fisher trying to find some value, has the Meteor Strike. Shax's going to take down the support. That is going to spell disaster right now. They have to play very careful in this corner, and that's what they do not want because it will lead them into last fight territory now as Shax gets another. The Reaper plays have been absolutely nutty so far on both of these teams.
Oh, they've been sharks. They've been absolute sharks. Shax and Lil Young are showing us what it means to be a good Reaper. And take a look at this sneaky Reaper play that we're going to get a chance to see Shax try out here. Just patiently waiting for that Death Blossom to come online. I hope that Italy is prepared for this, because I might not be.
And the Coalescence along with now the Meteor Strike, every ultimate available. You see Hearthbeat in the backside trying to get a flank, won't manage to do so. The Death Blossom to come out in return will be blocked, can't get the value, and this might just be Denmark able to shut them down with the capable composition that they have and the ultimates to their advantage. Supercharger for the extra boost to push it back as Denmark, regardless of having the deficit in numbers early in this fight, they've only got one member to hold back, but Italy's going to come back strong here and just try and hold on for dear life.
They have to hold on because this is going to be the last fight here. We're even seeing some picks coming out from both sides for the Wrecking Ball just to see if they can get as much time as possible. But this is going to be really hard to fight through all the sustain that's happening on Denmark's side. But you've got a lot of healing coming out from Scalar, a lot from Kellex, and that's going to be it. Denmark taking this first map of the series.
Unbelievable job. They were down a significant amount of percent here, making it very difficult to turn it around, but with coordinated play, and this is one of the things we were just kind of touching on a little earlier about the Sigma and Orisa. They had 2 points of entry. They had that high ground or that front low ground position to really try and push on this point. The Sigma shield was consistently there to make that team force to the side where they could then place the Orisa shield and had so much dominance, especially with now the positioning of the Doomfist and the Reaper, like you said.
Yeah, I mean, it is so difficult to work through that. And we're seeing this like kind of double shield meta appear. And it's not one that people really like to play against. But you could see
Mhm.
why teams are going with that option because it was so difficult for Italy to move in and actually break through that defense once Denmark got set up. Now, I expect that this is going to play out a little bit differently as we move on to an escort map. And that
Mhm.
escort is has just that interesting component to it that obviously control or assault doesn't have, and it's that movable payload. When
Mhm.
you are attacking, you can use that double shield to get super aggressive, but you have to adjust that play style and flip that switch if you're going to be on the defense, and you have to play it much differently. So I wonder how Denmark's really going to prepare to be on the defense here for Route 66.
And like you said, since we are going on to Route 66, one of the things that is very critical as well is this is one of those maps that have a very long
Mm-hmm.
sight line for those hit scans, potentially a
Yes.
Hanzo, potentially a Widowmaker, varying up the composition to see exactly how each team is going to respond to these types of character picks.
Mm-hmm.
With it, again, as you said, Denmark on the, it looks like it's going to be the defensive side, like you said, and what they'll look to do. If they might look to go with the Sigma Arisa again, I think it's worthy, but in that type of composition where they could play the Hanzo, the Storm Arrow does so much damage. Junkrat potentially to break the shield. They've seen the consistency in their play of the Arisa Sigma.
Mm-hmm.
It might be really beneficial for Italy to do that type of shield shred.
It's possible. I mean, we've already seen them run a an Orisa, right?
Hmm.
They've tended to paired it with Kuznetsov on the Diva. And I like that choice. It's very kind of old school Overwatch bunker composition. You had that on the defense and you're trying to stall the first point. But something else that I really like about Diva paired with the Orisa is that Diva can not only mitigate damage with the defense matrix, but you can also create a lot of space with your Diva bomb. So
Hmm.
I kind of like that pair, but I agree with you that the Arista Sigma seems to be working out really well for Denmark so far. But I'd be very nervous if I was Denmark seeing Lil Young hovering over that potential Widowmaker choice. I don't
Hmm.
know. It
And
doesn't look
and
like they're going to
now,
go for it, but.
yeah, it looks like they're going to switch onto the Reaper. I wouldn't be surprised. Little Young has been doing a stellar job on it.
Mhm.
Why continue to rotate off of something that's working for you at the moment? As you see them still playing very far forward, they're actually going to play in a more of aggressive position by Denmark.
They're trying to buy as much time as possible. So a lot of teams will take this strategy in order to just get some early picks, get some early ultimate percentage, and make sure that they buy themselves enough time to have one or two more fights. When sometimes you're only afforded one extra if you're holding around the corner.
And Kelix doing a very good job just continuing to sustain through all of the incoming damage on the defensive side. They do get a freeze, though, finally going to take down Narga on that Sigma. And that might just spell disasters, but you see Denmark still responding very well. Going to have the Coalescence activated, trying to get that forward momentum to give some turnaround, but will go down in the backside. Nice job coming out by Hearth to take down that Coalescence from Skarl. And this just is a just hard skirmish right now.
Is going to be a very scrappy fight, but they've bought themselves quite a bit of time here. After we see this May go down, though, it's finally going to be Italy leading that charge, getting some of that cart progress going, and they have a couple of ultimates to really buy some space. Freyu has another coalescence. They'll be able to use that once the enemy team moves in, but they might also want to save that sound barrier. Just they're going to have to play a little bit reactively here to what Denmark has in their pocket for them.
And they're quickly moving to the high ground near the gas station, seeing where the positioning is from Denmark. They're going to look to take that high ground and quickly collapse down, actually, going right into the fight. You see the Coalescence in return, though, by Italy, with Sigma waiting for Flux. Sound barrier to come out as the Blizzard will be there as well. Beautifully timed by Denmark, but they're still going to gain a lot of advantage. Shaq's going to be using it as well. And just trying to hold on, both sides using it with Blizzard in return, just throwing ultimates out, really not playing too reserved at this moment because they want to keep this payload from moving. They want to prevent it.
Yeah, they really do. So we're seeing a lot of ultimate investment from both teams, but it's still Italy coming on top of this one. I think Denmark's still going to have enough time to come back and recontest at the last possible second. You'll see a couple members kind of working their way towards the cart to see if they can stop it. But there's walls to be had here, and it's gonna be Hearthbeat building those.
And they're going to... Ooh, what an early pick onto Shaxx. Not what they wanted. They're just going to let them take it. They have to fall back on that and don't want to give any more percent. But you see the aggression by Italy. They're saying, no, 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 come right back. We've got some more for you, friends.
Yeah, Henningsen's not going to get away from that one unscathed. And unfortunately, that means Denmark's going to have to go back to the drawing board and figure out how they want to attack this cart. And it might have to be with that Sigma ultimate to be able to kind of pick and choose their battles. You could just remove a couple people from cart, make it easy for yourselves. But this is kind of a tougher situation when you do have the double shield, because once you get dislodged from your defensive position, it is difficult to come back and stabilize, but maybe they'll be able to get something done here.
Nice halt from the high ground. Sigma going to force the flux, knocking up 3 members, it looks like, managing to get out. The stone in the back as well with self-destruct trying to turn it around, as they've gotten already a good early pick on the support. Blizzard will be dropped, though, by Italy, trying to keep that aggressive pressure on the front. They do force the cryo freeze defensively by Fisher to get that re-engage, with the Moira still managing to get a lot of damage and harass in the back. But Italy just in such a good position, and I almost feel like Denmark really is not sure how to handle this forward momentum team of Italy.
Yeah, Italy did start to develop some momentum, and that's kind of where you have to really think about whether or not the price of defending so early on this map is really worth the risk. Sometimes it pays off, but in this case, Italy started out strong and they're still going.
Now, the re-engage again. Shaxx on the front trying to find some value. Coalescence again coming out by Frey on the front side. Death Blossom held, though, by Shaxx, looking for an opportunity. Does get the damage. Coalescence just will completely heal the members, but not through the damage of Shaxx, as they pick off another D.Va going to be demeched. Will they get the baby D.Va as well? And this is finally going to be the momentum stop for Italy as Shaxx just cleans up.
Yeah, Denmark's going to be able to stabilize here, and it's going to be off of Shaxx's hard work. But not only that, but we've also seen how powerful it can be when your spawn is that close. So Denmark is going to be able to take a pretty significant advantage here in terms of how they can re-engage on this. And Italy now really only has 2 options. Do they go straight for the cart, or do they try to wind around the streets phase of Route 66 to get back to it? Looks like they're going to be taking the behind approach. And
they've done a really nice flank to counter this positioning from Denmark. Can they execute it, though, is the real question. Fisher having that Blizzard ready, waiting to see if they can get a good position here, since they're clustered together, and the damage boost walling it off, and now going to use the Blizzard trying to block the sightline so they cannot see it, but because of the wall, it won't let them get as much surface area to lock down this team of Italy. Death Blossom again now going to come out from the side of Italy, trying to gain some value, will be brought down. One member after another, and like you said, the respawn advantage in favor of Denmark, though. Can they get back here with this high ground? I'm not sure if they'll be able to.
I don't think so. Not when a Maywall is there preventing any sort of re-entry and re-engage onto the cart. And now Italy has found their footing again and is able to make that cart go. And this section of the map is really where they need to put the pedal to the gas, because you gotta get through so much that really favors the defense here.
Now as they look to regroup in the backside, 2 minutes still to go. A decent amount of time trying to push into this, as we might see an early pick potential, not just yet on the high ground. They have to watch that upper corner. They don't want to be overwhelmed once again by potentially the Mei. And the Supercharger now going to come out by Henningsen. Aggression and Blizzard ultimates, but Shaxx again finding 2 in the back, regardless of being taken down by the Orisa from Italy, as these walls just continue to sever where their team's placement and allowing them to really just catch a breather for a moment.
Yeah, they gotta take a little bit of a deep breath here, but it's hard to find sometimes when you're always seem to be in the thick of battle. These teams are engaging so quickly on each other to buy themselves as much time to push this cart and have chances at engaging on the cart, and it's really incredible to see.
Still pushing forward, Italy relentless in their pursuit as the sound barrier finally dissipates for most members on the side of Italy. Now in the return, though, you see Denmark on that defensive position, using it to make sure that they can keep in this fight. They do not want to have to rely on that respawn advantage so far close to the end of it. With Shaxx getting another, Blizzard going to come out. They're laying one ultimate after another. Shaxx at least nearing another Reaper ultimate. But it still doesn't matter. You see the cleanup coming out by Lil Young once again on the return, and these Reapers just having a field day for both sides.
I mean, there's so much healing coming out from the healers on both teams that it is kind of just fodder for each of these Reapers. It's great, though, to be able to see how well these teams are working in tandem. But the last couple of moments of this particular round of the map, you really want to see Denmark kind of take control of the situation with something on the board, and it's going to be that Orisa ultimate first.
And it's going to be Lil Young relying on that Death Blossom. They have to find a good opportunity. Halt to bring them a little bit forward. Here comes the backline engage. Maybe going to find the chance, but the Supercharger comes out. Self-destruct will be... Oh, it just goes past the Sigma shield. They do get one with it. Not having any sort of ability to withstand it. Shaq's going to get defense matrixed immediately, only gaining one. Here is the push. That's going to be enough. Lil Young taking down Shaq's. And they will complete round 1.
All right, so I have a couple of things to point out here, and a lot of it has to do with the team compositional choices from both of these teams. And the one key difference that I want to focus on is that D.Va, again, you saw that in that last moment of the map. The defense matrix, so powerful. When you know that you don't have your Lucio ultimate online, you can still rely on something to be able to mitigate that damage that could completely wipe your team. So not only do you have the Moira to pump out an incredible amount of healing, but you also have the defense matrix. And I think that's two of the pieces that really allowed Italy to push it all the way to the end.
And with this now changeover, we're going to see if Denmark still wants to hold on to this Sigma Orisa composition. I think on the attacking side, it still has, you know, a good opportunity for them. They have the crowd control capability. Sigma is really able to isolate and maintain and apply a lot of pressure with that ultimate, the Flux, just being able to rise and drop individuals from the opposing team. But as we take a look at what the defensive side has here for Italy, they're going to stick still with this Orisa D.Va composition. They've been doing very well with it. The mobility from the D.Va and just the bunker from the Orisa has helped them so much in regardless of their attack or defense.
Kuznetsov has a really difficult job, though. You not only have to assist your frontline partner in the Orisa, but you also have to protect your backline in Freyu on that Moira. So I think that it's going to be really interesting if Denmark does decide to go with a more of disruptive composition with Fisher on that Doomfist, because that's going to make Kuznetsov's job so much harder, and that might be Denmark's ticket.
And right now, Denmark coming in with the Pharah play. No real hit scan. They're going to have to rely a lot on the D.Va play for Italy to counter this, as the Rockets are just going to reign completely behind the protective shielding and barriers that they have. But still, Italy actually getting an early pick, going to quickly follow up, and they're just going to ignore Shax. This was a great pick on paper, but as they're executing this, they're just completely ignoring Shax entirely and getting so much value out of it.
You can ignore Shax in this situation because the biggest difficulty that you have to deal with is what's on the ground. Don't worry about what's in the air. You have your healers. You can trust that they're going to keep you alive, but focus on taking out the things that will support Shax. Now you see that Shax doesn't feel like the fair is going to work. Let's switch back over to the Reaper and see if we can make something happen in this all-out brawl.
And they recognize it. They know that they will not be able to gain any value on that Pharah play and have to switch back to the Reaper, which has actually gotten a lot more value as a whole. But now the boop from behind, pushing them forward into the front line of Denmark. Blizzard going to come out, though, to try and counter it by Hearthbeat. Will they be able to find some valuable kills? And here's the Sigma ult, though, by Denmark. They've gotten too early. Now they're going to follow up onto D.Va with Flux. Here's another by Hearthbeat going down. And that's actually going to be a great engage. That frontal boop, bringing Italy back into the front lines of Denmark, was really not what they were expecting.
No, I don't think that was quite what they were expecting, but that's exactly what you need to do when you're playing Lucio and you're playing it at such a high proficiency. So it's great to see Denmark using some of those, try to take those advantages using the architecture of the map. But now Italy has a chance to come back, and they didn't use too much in that last engagement, just that Blizzard to see if they could slow down the pace of this game. But they will have almost 4 ultimates online here to use to re-engage on this defense.
Supercharger going to be dropped on the side of Italy on the high ground. I think a little bit too far back to not give everybody the beneficial boost, but they will look to flank it quickly. Shax immediately responding to this. They're going to clean it up rapid fire as they have the boost of their own with Henningsen, and now have 1 minute and 45 seconds, and they're going to get a good 4 minutes and 10 remaining going into this next push.
Yeah, it's a lot of time, especially when you are going into the streets phase, but it seems a little bit easier for the attacking team to get through here rather than the defense to hold it if we're going to use round one as historical reference. But this is a really interesting position for Italy to be in because they do have the sound barrier, but again, I don't know if it's going to be enough to be able to eat through the Death Blossom because it's going to have to be hungry on this one.
Denmark having to quickly retreat back. You saw them play forward with that Sigma and the Orisa, but once you saw the reposition by Italy to look for a flank opportunity, they had to bail quickly to make sure that they did not get lost. Self-destruct already available for the side of Italy. With now the drop high overhead, they look for the May play with a sound barrier. Lots coming out. They're actually going to have a good buffer, though. Even though they responded quickly on the side of Denmark on the attacking side, you see Italy just pressing on and getting a lot more value out of that engagement, still holding on to the Death Blossom by Lil Young.
That holding on to the Death Blossom is actually huge because now they have not only the Death Blossom, but they also have an insurance policy of Hearthbeat's Blizzard back online. So if one of those doesn't work, the other one but bound to work, right? We just saw Kellex use the sound barrier, so there's really isn't going to be anything on Denmark's side to mitigate that pressure, except for Moira. But Moira alone isn't going to be enough in this case.
And Shaxx looking for that damage around the side, wanting to find a good opportunity for the Death Blossom. The halts are still coming out to try and pull them. Now the reposition. Will they find it behind the shield, going for potentially the Death Blossom? But no, it's going to be the Blizzard Death Blossom first on the side of Italy. Gaining one, tanking down Sigma. Narga not surviving through it. And I think that patience by Shaxx was a little bit too patient, because it just allowed them to push forward. Shaxx had no one near. The Death Blossom couldn't find any value. They still held on to it, but it was a decent amount of time worn off here.
I would have maybe even sent Shaxx in another direction. Like if that was the strategy they wanted to go with by having Shaxx flake around and use the Death Blossom, let him go first. It's kind of like engage on it like you would a Sombra, right? If you get a key hack, then that's the go signal for your team to engage. But the engagement was already happening, so it was a little bit slow on the uptake there for Denmark's strategy, but they're getting back to the cart and Italy's giving them this space right now.
Yeah, they especially do, because that supercharger is available by Henningsen for the Orisa. They don't want to risk any sort of increased damage around the corner. And once it turns, self-destruct are going to come out. Maybe they'll gain some value. Does get one. Narga caught out in the open, couldn't divert out of the way quick enough. And the Meteor Strike by Fisher. High ground position to maybe get a backline flank. Shaxx as well. A lot of ultimates committed to this to really force this final push towards this next checkpoint.
There's a lot because, I mean, we've got about a minute left, and if you don't use everything here, then you might not have enough oomph to give you the momentum to carry that cart forward. So I do like this investment we're seeing from Denmark. It was a necessary one, but Italy still has some firepower to come back and defend if they're able to get back to the cart in time. If not, I would say just save it, wait till that third part of the map.
Shaxx and Fisher and Kellex, everybody at the doorway. They just want to hold them back to reach the checkpoint, managing to do so, and now having 2 minutes and 15 seconds to try and complete this map.
Oh, and the worst part about that actually was that Italy lost Kuznetsov. So now they're going to have to wait for their sixth member to come back because the D.Va is such an integral part of their team composition working. And Denmark, all the while, will be able to use Narga and be able to use Henningsen to create that space. Look at how much distance you can really put between those two deployable shields to get you to move forward.
Playing this corner safely. Here comes the supercharger, looking to halt them out into the open. Does mitigate a lot of damage, though. Sigma on the front with that defensive ability, gaining the shield from it. 3 ultimates on the side of Denmark as they fall back, with 3 as well for Italy. They used, I think, the supercharger a little too early. They couldn't get as much value out of it, but they still got a lot in their back pocket right now.
They used it a little early just to kind of say, Italy, back off a little bit so we can get a chance to move forward. But now they got to move forward into a blizzard.
Meteor Strike going to gain 1. They have the Blizzard forced out for the side of Italy to try and maybe get some follow-up. They do get a lot of value out of it. Both Coalescence and Blizzard committed to this. They still held on to Lil Young's Death Blossom, so they, again, still have that. They are very, very resourceful in keeping that ultimate.
I'm chuckling because of where Little Young is positioned right now.
Yep, just waiting for it.
Classic,
And they don't see it. They don't know at all.
Nope, Kellex is none the wiser, and oh, it's so low.
Oh, the halt into the back. They're trying to get the stun. Lil Young now needing to scramble away. Doesn't want to get picked off, especially with the Death Blossom. You will see the supercharger by Henningsen drop again, and they will give space. Italy responding very quickly to that audio to make sure that they give respect to it. Now with the Doomfist engaged, though, in the backside. Self-destruct to return. Can they gain any value? Will not be able to, as Lil Young very low in the front, but beautiful sound barrier. The stun shuts down the Death Blossom. 3 members near, and now you see the return by Shax, hoping to gain more value than Lil Young could, as they get the staggers now, starting to gain 2. Respawn in favor still of Italy, so we'll see how they come back into this.
Okay, Narga was an MVP of that last team fight, not only stopping the Diva Bomb with their deployable shield, but also stunning Reaper out of the Death Boss. Like, this was incredible. Like, you're seeing such a high level of Sigma play, and the hero hasn't even been out that long. So it's great to see Denmark use that.
And you see the Coalescence trying to lead. Here comes Sigma now using Flux, trying to knock them up away from the point. Supercharger in defensively, though, by Italy, but goes down. Henningsen switching from the Orisa now to the Wrecking Ball to really give a lot of harass, diving in and out of the back line because they want this overtime commencing. They have to hold on, and they do not have the respawn advantage like Italy. Now getting back into it with the sound barrier. Reaper by Lil Young getting so much damage on the backside. You have to rely so much on your supports here by Denmark as they are still persevering through it. Fisher getting another rocket punch in the back. Shaq still giving some space, and they will complete it, obtaining 1 minute for the next push.
Okay, both of these teams seem like overtime champions right now, getting that 3rd point in the nick of time. But with a minute left and equal footing for this next match, like, I just kind of need to, I wonder if we're going to see some sort of strategy adjustment here from Denmark or Italy to see if they can go the extra mile on this one.
And with both time banks being at a minute, it really comes down to the wire. You are going to have to see what they will pull out. Will we see maybe the pirate ship? Because it's something to throw it off. We've seen it a lot before. They'll stick to their guns and stick with their comp that they're comfortable with. They don't want to risk it. And with Italy attacking first, I feel like Denmark almost has a little bit more of an advantage personally when it comes to this last minute, because they can honestly, if they choose to, try something a little bit unorthodox to gain the advantage.
Yeah, with either kind of... This always kind of happens with round 3 or any sort of extra innings that we go into for Overwatch, is that oftentimes you'll see either the attacking team or the defending team do something a little bit wonky, but if it works, then it might not work the same way for the other team that tries to try it in round 4. So I think that we're just going to see some pretty classic defensive strategies, though. We're seeing something really similar here from Denmark, taking a very aggressive hold, and maybe that'll pay off for them again because they were able to buy a lot of time off the clock last time.
And so much aggression right out the gate. You see a lot of lockdown, though, with the Mei and the Sigma getting an early pick on this attacking side, which these kinds of picks can be a huge momentum boost, especially since they have the respawn advantage on the side of Italy. But now, Narga, long way to go with those shoeless feet, as there's still 30 seconds remaining. Gonna try and stagger back. Shaq's playing cautiously as the healers are really doing a stellar job here, Necra.
No, they really are. I would love to take some time to point out how well they're playing, but we're still seeing a little bit of gameplay here between the two teams. Now that Italy has kind of got their momentum, this is where we saw Denmark have some trouble. Try to re-engage and stabilize. They weren't able to stabilize until the last half of the 2nd point, and even then it was only for a short while here. So Italy really trying to put on the pressure, especially in overtime. Nobody can leave this cart. But Narga seems to be the only person that has something in the toolkit to be able to remove people, but they're nowhere close to the ultimate yet.
And they were on the high ground, forced to drop down. You saw the push with now leading the Coalescence and Meteor Strike by Denmark. They want to execute this push right now, and they are going to still gain the advantage. The sound barrier from Italy holding on as you see Lil Young gaining to the follow-up now coming out by the Fray in addition with unbelievable execution here on this attacking side for an entire team kill, and Denmark has to be a little rattled right now.
They seem to be a little bit rattled, but they're going to be sticking to the same strategy here. Now Shax is ready to go with the Death Blossom. Now they got a couple of tools in their kit, Rich. So I'm super excited to see kind of how they decide to engage on this one. Is the Sound Barrier going to be enough for Lil Young's Death Blossom? Is it going to be enough to deal with this Blizzard? This might be the critical point here for Denmark. Otherwise, Italy might be able to take this all the way to the end in a miracle.
And I would not be surprised in doing so at how they've already been able to respond to a plethora of ultimates been thrown at them. Supercharger now going to be forced, it looks like, on both sides for this team, as it will be Hearth trying to find a Blizzard opportunity to lock this team of Denmark down. Getting the Supercharger hawked high into the air, will be now dropped as the Sound Barrier does come out again by Kelix, trying to allow the side of Denmark to persevere through the damage. And they have another Death Blossom coming out by Little Young to maybe keep this momentum, but they're in the middle point now. Both sides having a decent respawn location. Scalar able to get the Coalescence kill onto the front tank line, and now they're starting to clean it up as they pick them off one by one. Denmark saying, no more, my friends. You've passed the doorway and want to finish the push as they knock them away, and overtime ticks away.
This was still a great effort here by Italy to get it as far as they did, but Denmark finally found their footing, and it was the Sigma ultimate that really started it all. Just try to get them off the cart, deal with the ground troops, and then take that cleanup. And once we started to see that kill feed light up blue, it was Denmark going to be stabilizing for that team fight, but now it's flipped. Does Denmark have something in their pocket that Italy's not prepared for in the defense? Is that double shield really going to work to create the space like we've been saying that it should? These are kind of the questions that are going to get answered in this last round, and we'll see who takes this second map.
And one of the things I want to highlight briefly is Kelix with those sound barriers.
Yeah.
Even though they haven't always worked out, they have been perfectly timed for incoming damage. Consistently knowing when the self-destruct is coming out, the Death Blossom is there. Fisher, having also just the, Blizzard as well. So much just timing and management of when those ultimates are coming out and just knowing exactly when to use it. And that stellar support play can be very pivotal for a team.
I mean, this is what separates top 500 support players from low grade master support players, is understanding the cooldowns, understanding how much healing they should be doing versus actually speeding the team, and also wall riding and still doing damage. So it's been fun watching Katakomi and Kelix really battle it out there on the walls of on these cliffs of Route 66, because they've just been such a standout member of the team.
60 seconds to go. Out the doorway, you see Denmark wanting to try and persevere through that golden box of victory as they are going to now get very low. Narga barely surviving on the front, managing to withstand the incoming damage. Fisher, here comes an early pick, though. They do get Little Young onto Italy, and that is a critical pick right now. Little Young has caused so much harass as now Shax is going to get a lot of value out of this push, just deleting the health values of the front line, taking out the mech, looking for that also May in the back line, as they're going to get some good momentum here as well. And they're going to look to stagger these last couple kills out on the supports.
Well, this is a trickier situation, though, because it's not overtime yet. And if we see Italy win this next fight, that's going to be it for Denmark. So actually, Italy did a great job of kind of taking an advantage here in terms of time bank, because when they get back, overtime will just proc. And now we also get a chance to see them engage with an ultimate of their own. They're the very first team to have an ultimate in this situation.
Looking to take the low ground. They're not going to try and come to the overhead positioning. Fisher on the upper side looking to get that Doomfist engaged. Can't seem to find the follow-up onto that combination. Payload looking to turn. There's one in the back, though. Again, Fisher so aggressive, forces the Meteor Strike. Close enough to it. You now get a great pick onto the main, no longer having to worry about any sort of slows or crowd control, as we are seeing practically a mirrored gameplay style where they are getting the fights when needed in those critical spots as this payload pushes.
I mean, sometimes when you're in this situation, just press Q and hope and pray that that's exactly what your team needs. And they definitely have been coming online exactly when teams need them. But this is the last potential fight, Rich. As that cart takes that first point and as it starts coming around the corner, Fisher's really looking to buy some space and buy some time for their team of Denmark here as that cart gets so close to that golden rectangle.
And you see them respond. They know that Fisher is there now in the back line. Sigma's going to knock up two. Sound barrier and the self-destruct in the corner does get two! That might just be enough! The Blizzard, the Death Blossom, every ultimate they've got to completely push them away from this payload, as that was a beautiful play by Italy to turn it around in the choke point, allowing them to claim victory on Route 66.
Absolutely superb gameplay from both of these teams. This has just been so close. Both rounds of Nepal ended up going 199, and now we're also seeing just meters away. We're Italy just getting a great foothold and stopping Denmark from taking the second map win. It's a tied series, Rich, for the semifinals of the Eurocup.
And it is going to be an exciting next map for us, since they have now feeling revitalized after unfortunately not getting the first control point. They're 1-1, like you said. And with that being said, we're going to give just a quick 5-minute break here for these two teams to kind of settle down, for us to get production set up and ready for our next map, which again, we will be back in just a moment. But as you're taking a nice, lovely brief break, you can also find out more information about merchandise to support these two teams and any other team, really to generate fundraising to go to that World's Cup. You can find a link below for the Euro merchandise exclusively to this tournament, where you can support your country, your team, and your fans. So definitely go below to find out more, and we'll be back in just a moment, my friends. Hello and welcome back, viewers, as we are about to get this underway in just a moment. And again, hopefully, you're able to go down below and help support your team with the fundraising as we will look to go into our next map, which is going to be Assault. And it actually looks like it's going to be Horizon Lunar Colony for the next one. So, Necro, what do you think we're going to see coming out on this one? Do you think we'll just see the standard that we've had from both teams so far? I feel like they're
I
comfortable in,
think
in,
so.
in their comp.
Yeah, we've been seeing this composition for both of these teams a lot during this tournament, and it doesn't
Mm,
really surprise me that we're going to see it again. It seems to be very comfortable for these teams, and it's been working out really well when they do have those ultimates online and they're able to target focus. So I think Denmark and Italy gonna be playing some very similar compositions. The only thing I might say is we might see a Symmetra. I cross my fingers for it because it's a cool choice, but maybe. Who
well, I
knows?
mean, and one of the things that I actually had pointed out to me as we were on our brief break for Denmark,
Mhm.
the Sigma player, coming out by Narga is actually
Yes.
mainly a flex DPS. So to see that hard switch now going from the flex DPS to a Sigma play is a very interesting adjustment to this, and it was one of the things that I was just really surprised at once I was notified of that information.
Yeah, that is really surprising, but it's also not too surprising that we're seeing maybe the DPS players on the teams having to switch over to more of an off tank
Hmm.
ish kind of role because Sigma still does damage. And if I'm remembering correctly, Narga usually plays projectile DPS heroes like Farah, Hanzo, and Mei. And Sigma has a very unique projectile mechanic to their primary fire, and I think it just fits in so well if you already are proficient with those projectile DPS players.
Especially when it comes to the ricochet. That's just really,
Yeah,
really fun. That whole
exactly.
mechanic is quite engaging to see, especially when they utilize it to their advantages. It looks like now it is going to be Italy on the defensive side with Denmark on the attack, looking to see and play actually again a little bit further forward here for Denmark. They are not at all playing in the reserve back on the control point.
No, I think it's really smart that we're seeing Denmark take such an aggressive approach because it means that they get to build up to their ultimates a little bit faster, and maybe it makes Italy rethink how they engage. But we are seeing Italy make, or yeah, we're seeing them make it all the way to the point already, and it's because they have Fisher playing that Symmetra that we were talking about before.
Ooh, beautiful halt to get them down from the high ground, completely separating them away, and now going to collapse quickly onto it as Lily Young gets an early pick onto Fisher. That Symmetra going down. They will not have that beam, able to just shred through the front line quickly if they can get a good position. 3 minutes still to go. They've got a lot of time. Denmark now going to look to retreat slightly as the high ground will be claimed by Lily Young. Halt, almost brought to the edge, but won't be able to get them down to the low ground to get the kill. And they're going to have to just play very safe now as Italy is just going to start dominating on this push.
Ooh, wow. So yeah, Italy really taking the offensive here. Freyu has been building up that coalescence so quickly. I think there's a great amount of communication happening between Freyu and Katakomi about who should be healing what, when they should be doing that. And it just kind of ends up being second nature a little bit when you've worked so well with your teammates for your World Cup team. But now Italy, after using that coalescence, is going to have the Blizzard online too, and you're seeing how much that aggressive defense really pays off here because they are ahead in the ultimate economy by just a little bit.
Keeping that high ground, playing patiently, and again, that ultimate economy is going to be coming up online. Henningsen getting a lot of damage, utilizing that shield supercharger drop. Here's the teleporter, but the wall, it's not going to matter. They get it down just in time to collapse, utilizing it to dash back and forth between the high ground as the photon barrier looks to try and sever the team of Italy. Can they get any sort of additional kills as the self-destruct comes out? Won't gain any value. Again, they've gained 1 tick so far. Still looking to withstand the fight. Kelix now, sound barrier, having the Death Blossom by Shax from Denmark as they will force them away. Oh, but the turnaround by Lil Young playing so calmly and collective to wait for the opportunity as the quad kill comes out. Gave up 1 tick and a decent amount into the second, but that hold was very well done.
You have a Death Blossom? I have one too. Let's see which one is bigger. And it worked out a little bit better for Italy because they ended up using it second when all of the cooldown management for Denmark was gone. Now Denmark has to move back in after they invested so much into that last fight here. We're even seeing Fisher actually move back over to the May, going back to the signature composition we've seen from Denmark all match long.
Nice freeze in the back, trying to see if they can get the D-Mech. The defense matrix is there with a quick evasion to dodge out of the way. Coalescence on both sides, really seeing you can persevere with the damage and healing in this choke point in the back corner. As you've seen Italy play very, very respectably, but it's now going to be so much on the side of Denmark that they cannot withstand it. And they're going to now have a quick clear of the last member, forcing them off the point, going to get the second tick, looking to get the third, and have a decent amount of time going into this push. But the respawn advantage, ever since the patch, is going to allow Italy to stabilize and get back in as a full 6.
I mean, that was just a really good target prioritization from Denmark. They didn't have to invest any ultimates there that really hurt their economy, and now they have a potential to snowball this next point because they focused on the first thing that was in front of them, that shield, getting that out of the way.
Oh, and going to knock up 4 members. Sound barrier mid-air, though, to support the entire team of Italy. Unbelievable job demonstrating that support play as well by Katakomi, letting Kelix know that I'm here as well. Shaxx getting the Death Blossom, taking down 1, as they will look to still turn it back regardless of a beautifully timed sound barrier. The respawn advantage in favor of Italy. Can they get back to it? Trying to go onto the high ground to maybe get a Death Blossom. Does get booped away. Won't gain any kills as they follow up, and now it is just the nail in the coffin as you have so many ultimates to secure this point, picking them off one by one. Bolt supports remaining, going to go down, cleaning house, nobody there in time, and that's going to be round 1 completed by Denmark with 2:21.
That snowball though, that was really powerful and impactful to see, and they're rewarded with a sizable time bank left on the clock. But now that the side is flipped, I just think that this strategy is going to work out a little bit better for Denmark. And it's only because I think that double shield can be really powerful. But you're also seeing it some ways too, where the double shield doesn't do enough to stop everything that's on either team, and especially when you're looking at that Moira and what they can do during their ultimate. It's crazy to see.
And to be honest, I keep thinking about that Death Blossom. I honestly feel that I'm hearing them say, anything you can kill, I can kill better. I can kill anything better than you. Right at the end of it. And it was just great to see it, and I'm hoping that we see some more of that intensity brought to you by both of these Reapers, and so much space being granted. And as we see now on the defensive side for Denmark, they're going to keep it, of course, not a surprise at all. Fisher going to go on to the May, and like you said, with them, I don't think they're going to play as far forward, though. I don't feel that they will. They're going to probably try and use maybe the 2 choke points with the shields, maybe on the low ground and the high ground part, but again, we'll see how they kind of get situated here on this upper catwalk.
Playing around with Kelix, just making sure they're protected a little bit there on the upper red parts of Horizon Lunar Colony. But no, I think I'm going to agree with you that this quarter, it just seems to be the quintessential setup for most defensive positions and defensive teams. So I think Denmark is playing this really safe, and they're playing it well. Look, there's no way for you to engage or get damage onto this team except to go up those stairs or bypass it completely. And we're already seeing Italy has opted to not go for the Symmetra choice, seeing how well that worked out for Denmark on that first round there. But they're still going to go with that quintessential composition we've seen them run as well. But meeting already, so close to point.
And they've quickly drawn back their positioning, separated now by the wall. They do have the shields to their advantage. They've managed to give, and again, there's the 2 positions. You see them attacking from one doorway and the second, both shields activated to try and prevent the incoming shots. Couldn't get an execution from that wall or the follow-up freeze, as Hearth looks to try and survive through the damage. Can't manage to do so. Henningsen just laying waste with that machine gun, as they will have the numbers advantage. 1 in the back going to try and harass as well. They have to reset here. I don't think Italy will want to linger any longer, and they're going to do so and try and save as much as they can.
Oh my gosh, Kuznetsov just got so low there, almost got demeked. And if Denmark was able to get away with that, that would have made Italy that much farther behind. But now we've also seen Freyu doing what Freyu does best, building up to that coalescence, has it online and ready to go again. So early on in these matchups, even beating out Scalar, which is just really impressive after your team actually won those battles. So Italy now gets to come in with the coalescence, and that's going to be a really rude awakening, I think.
And they got the early pick onto the support. Coalescence from both sides going to be used. Flux by Denmark. Looking to take out Katakomi, no longer having that Lucio available for the fight as they neared a sound barrier, which is the most devastating part. It's going to force probably a retreat potentially soon here on the side of Italy as they're losing one after another. And with 2 minutes left to go, they're really going to have to be cautious on how they move forward, since right now they'll have the self-destruct, the sound barrier, and a few more ultimates coming online.
It's really hard when you lose your Lucio first because of how slow Orisa is on their own. When you are playing those chase down DPS comps like Hearthbeat and Lo Young are doing with the main the Reaper, you need your tank to be with you at all times. So Katakomi is really an important piece of the puzzle, being able to speed boost the entire team to point and making sure they're hitting as a total unit. But you know how they do have Katakomi back. They do have that sound barrier ready to go. So I think this next push is going to fare a little bit better for them.
Still just treading cautiously here. There's the halt. You do get the sound barrier into the meteor strike with Sigma Blizzard. So many aerial effective ultimates going to try and deny any member of Italy, and there it is. Shax getting the triple with the DMEC, and just so much laid down on the line with an entire team kill. 60 seconds to go, and you see Skylar and also Shax holding on to the ults.
Yeah, gotta hold on to them because they just haven't felt like there was a use for them yet. Team already cleaned up with what they use, so why invest more when you don't have to? That's really smart play here from Denmark, but this is not over yet. There's about one fight left, and you've got to put all the marbles on the table here, and that's what Scalar and Shax were saving those ults for.
Lil Young now going on to that Doomfist play, feeling confident in the last desperation for this fight. Gets a nice fist engage in the back, but the Fortify is there to withstand the knockback into the wall as Hearth does get one, now looking to try and get potentially the Seismic Slam in the back as the Coalescence and Death Blossom will be unleashed. Seeing if they can prevent this team of Italy from moving any further onto the point, getting the kills that they need, but that's still Lucio is going to get picked off again on the side of Italy. No ability to maneuver around quickly for them to keep in this fight as they are still having at least a decent numbers advantage. Shax having to retreat, no healing available. It's going to be Kellex for sheer just everything they've got to give enough healing to keep that team back in the fight. Overtime commencing. Numbers advantage still in favor, though, of Denmark. 4 versus 1 on the point. Overtime taking away. Fisher coming in big with the Doomfist of their own. Even though they have Lil Young with the now Meteor Strike, not going to come back in time. There's the double from Fisher, as they just will consistently just draw this out for as long as possible. They cannot afford any more. And that is going to be it. You see Denmark claiming a victory over Italy, now making it a 2-1 score.
2-1 score, and this is a potential match point moving into the fourth map. But watch this play of the game here from Narga. Look at how clean the Sigma play has really been. It's been such a standout here for Team Denmark, and it's definitely one of the reasons why they've been able to take a lead in the series so far.
And those orbs just doing so much damage.
So
The
much.
quick succession in close proximity, you can play so far forward and gain a lot of value out of it.
Mhm.
And one of the things we also wanted to talk about a little bit is looking at the bracket and seeing
Yeah,
how Denmark is
absolutely.
going to really try and challenge this. Italy, who has the last 2 attempts, Italy against Portugal first in round 1, 3-0.
Mhm.
Italy against Norway, round 2, 3-0. Now you're going to see them come against Denmark, who has fought and kind of gone through the trenches a little bit. They fought Saudi Arabia, Denmark in round 2, and
Mhm.
actually didn't get it so swiftly. They barely won a 3-2 in this because, again, it is first to 3. And now I think Italy is starting to go against a opponent that's really formidable for them.
As Denmark, though, you've got to feel really good about coming on top after a really scrappy fight. It's so tough to do team scouting for a Saudi Arabia team or for any team kind of in the Middle East. So Denmark really had their work cut out for them. But, I think that this is another true test of strength here for Denmark and Italy as well. Right. Denmark did go through the trenches already. They already have another tough opponent that they have to deal with, which is Italy. But Italy, this is kind of their first real test of strength here in the team of Denmark that's been making it such a difficult series for them. But incredible. We have a fourth map for you, a potential match point, and it's going to be Denmark taking the defense at first and Italy in the red.
And the map of Hollywood is another one of those kind of interesting matches. We've seen it
Mm-hmm.
evolve so much when it's come to contenders, to Overwatch League, to Open Division, all those different types of tournaments where you've seen Junkrats, you've seen Ashes, you've seen, Hanzos, you've seen
Mm-hmm.
bunker compositions, the dive compositions, the rotation, and especially since we've now finally transitioned away from goats into this 2-2-2
Have
composition.
we
So,
though?
I mean,
Okay, so I've been avoiding it this entire time, but I understand the strategy that Denmark and Italy are going for with their team comps, and this is what we call the 2-2-2 goats. It's
yes.
back. Just looks a little different.
It's just a couple different portraits and abilities and skills and stuff like that make it somewhat different. We could call it I'm gonna say, I dare even try and make my own variation of this, the dotes, the
Oh,
damage
yikes.
included goats version where there's two
People have,
damage dealers, but
yeah. Shadow Goat, I don't know. We're not even going to touch it because we're already into the action now as we open the gates for Hollywood and see who's going to come out on top of this map. Is it going to be Denmark? Are they going to take it home here?
and they try very, very quickly on the side of Denmark to just push this team of Italy back, who is very aggressive. They had an early wall to block their vision to quickly go onto the corner of that payload, transitioning underneath this choke point to make sure that they can turn it around. They really can't seem to get back onto the point. They're just quickly taking this Denmark, and that is just a stellar job right now for them to just get this aggressive play. Coalescent's going to come out to try and turn it around to help. But, man, they have already almost claimed it in 50 seconds. Sound barrier now coming out by Kelix to see if they can get that assistance for the side of Italy. Holding off and really just staggering it out, Necro.
Oh, they are staggering it out. I mean, Denmark's just trying to buy as much time as possible here, and they must have thought they had some sort of fighting chance within this matchup. I mean, Narc's just going to kind of go in and throw their body over the point, because what can you really do when you're waiting for your teammates to come back? Italy's going to take this first one and get this cart rolling, and so much momentum generated from that very first, very scrappy team fight.
And as you see them here, the payload's going to move forward. They don't have the mech right now. So that's one thing they're going to have to watch out for. Hopefully going to generate it quickly. Again, it is such a fast and rapid regen to get back into the mech. But they still want to make sure that they watch their head and not get taken out in the time being.
Don't worry, they have a hover car. They've got some form of mechanability here if you are that diva. Cool decal on it too, but yeah, that's going to be tough to come back from when you don't have your mech to protect you from that damage.
Fisher now looking to try and press forward, does get one, gets the double. Shax to gain a third, as they will clean up quickly, and now still have 4 minutes and 30 seconds.
Yeah, they do have the 4 minutes and 30 seconds, and that's going to be plenty of time for them to try to push through. But look at the aggressive positioning again we're seeing here from Denmark. I mean, this is just kind of incredible to me how confident they seem to be, knowing that they've got the Sigma ult online.
Now with the Flux to come out on the high ground, it is going to be Narga going down regardless. Lil Young gaining 2 here on the side of Italy as they drop the Supercharger Sound Barrier as well to keep this push moving forward. As you do have now that Diva play waiting, holding on to the self-destruct Blizzard as well, rotating these ultimates very effectively, as the side of Denmark is going to have to fall back and be very careful as they start to move through this Hollywood phase.
This is kind of where we saw before on Route 66, Denmark have a lot of trouble, and it was after they got dislodged from their first defensive hold, really finding a way to restabilize, and I fear that we might see it again here. But of course, as I say that, Hearthbeat does get taken down early on the side of Italy, and that's going to cause a retreat.
Yeah, they don't want to engage that. They need to fall back. They want to buy as much time as they can. And they can't really afford to give Denmark any more ultimate charge at this point because they're starting to regain their ultimate economy status to really counter Italy.
No, they really are. And I mean, look though, ultimate's coming out so early here on the re-engage.
Supercharger on the side of Denmark defensively trying to withstand it as the Blizzard is going to come out to counter it, pushing forward, getting 2 members. Will have so many deleted on the front with that ultimate usage. And Lil Young holding on to the Death Blossom. Didn't need to. Hearth just doing such a great job with the Blizzard, allowing them to follow up with damage.
Yeah, the Death Blossom now gets to be used at the very end of this Streets phase here for Hollywood. And Denmark still prepared though. They do have Narga to eat up some of that damage with their own damage mitigation, but they also still have Sound Barrier available to eat this up too.
Walls just causing a lot of protection and just dismay as the Death Blossom comes out. Will manage to hold on with that Sound Barrier by Calyx on Denmark. Cleaning up quickly. You do see Henningsen getting those double kill. Well, one DMEC actually, as they're going to stagger this D.Va out. They want to buy some time. They don't want them to have the quick 6, as it's just going to be the slow and steady whittle. Oh, but they're going to get the mech. Oh, not going to matter. They're just going to keep doing it. Wow. Just, it's one of those tragic moments.
Yeah, you hate to see it. You hate to see it. And of course you hate to be that D.Va too. So Kuznetsov, we are so sorry. At least it's entertaining to watch.
Sending you love.
Yep. Yep.
And now the ult economy, though, on Denmark in a good spot. They've got 4 going into this wall. Italy actually really only is going to near the Sound Barrier and the Coalescence. So that's what they're going to have in their back pocket right now for the moment. And it, again, very good support ultimates, but they have to be wary moving forward into this because Denmark's going to have a lot to bring to them.
I mean, we've seen Italy, they'll make lemonade out of lemons before when they haven't really had too much available. So it's possible they don't even need those ultimates to be in line to really take this. They just has to deal with getting their shields down.
Minute and 15 seconds, now going to press forward. You see the aggression with the Coalescence on both sides, but Blizzard will be dropped from Denmark. Can they get anybody close enough to the center to freeze them in place? Won't be able to do so, but they still have gotten 3 kills already. There's Shax with a triple to make it a total of 4. Because they're going to get probably one more good stab at this on the side of Italy.
Oh, about one more, yeah. We've got 45 seconds left on the clock, which could be last fight territory if we don't see Italy engage quickly enough here. But they have a lot to show for it. They can use the Orisa Bongos to open up the fight. Henningsen's probably going to go ahead and make some music of their own as well. But we've really got to watch out for that Sigma ultimate. If you are on the side of Italy, you don't want to not be able to touch that.
Now still maintaining the high ground. Here comes Sigma, going to use Flux, trying to get them knocked high into the air, but does have a few go onto the side of the jail, so they will not get dropped down as high for the damage as the pull is forward. There now is Narga on the high ground, getting a decent stun. Self-destruct going to be forced out. Shield is there, but pulled back as Narga goes down. 1-for-1 exchange. Death Blossom on the front by Lil Young, having the Death Blossom in return to counter. Will they find value? Does get 1. Overtime commencing, a few meters left to go as the wall tries to prevent as much damage from the side of Italy from going through. This Reaper v Reaper battle now, can they keep and survive through it? No, it will be Denmark persevering through the attack of Italy and going to prevent them from reaching that next checkpoint.
Wow. I mean, this is just kind of incredible that Denmark was able to hold on as long as they did, and it means now that they don't have too far to really push that card. But and the second point is just so difficult to take on Hollywood. You just got respawns that are right there for the defending team, and how can you really chew through all of that when you know respawns are going to be coming out left after right? So this was a great effort by Italy, but they do have their work cut out for them moving into the second round.
They do, and honestly, I still feel that it was a formidable push, especially on Hollywood. It's something that they were able to get a decent distance. And one of the parts that I think is going to benefit, at least on this first objective point, is we saw Denmark, on the defensive side played that high ground, which they did very well. They had the May wall. I almost think they should have used the wall instead of on the low ground farther back. Should have used it in that archway to just try and divert them to potentially a side position to collapse on, or at least buy more time, versus use it a little late. You saw Italy be very, very quick to use it on the wall, blocking their sightline. So I think the utilization of that May wall could have been adjusted a little bit, and going into this now attacking side for Denmark, that might go into their favor if they can, try and use that early.
Ooh, yeah. I'm only oohing and awing because we might see a Scalar play something a little bit different.
Baptiste, you're correct.
Maybe? Okay, maybe that was just a debate, but that would
Nah.
have. Well,
Caster joke.
I
They're just
really
messing with us.
can't. I really can't see a world where you switch off of the Moira in this case because of how powerful that hero really is right now. Moira's like S tier. It's just kind of nuts how much healing output and damage Moira can really do. But oh boy, Meg.
And there is now, it practically is mirrored from what happened the time before. Early wall on the side of Denmark, blocking the sideline, halt around the corner for Italy to be brought to the low ground. Great play, trying to collapse, even exchange 1-for-1 right now. As Denmark still trying to press on. Shaq's getting a lot of damage on the front side, assisted by Henningsen. They are swiftly getting onto this point. It looks like they may just be able to capture on it a little bit quicker than Italy, but still, the healers are holding on very strong for this defensive side for Italy. Shaq's just unloading so many shells, uncontested, just all of the healers in general focusing him so that he can just make way as they are now starting to capture this, and most likely will just allow them to do so, fall back, and look for a regroup by Italy.
Ooh, I mean, we're seeing them try to poke in some damage here. Reaper actually making it here to the point as well as Orisa. It's going to be the whole team here in Italy trying to get a recontest.
Oh, I am wrong. They're just going to go for it. Here comes the Blizzard, though, from the side of Denmark, making sure that they cannot touch this point any longer as they will complete it and now move into the streets phase with 5 minutes and 10 seconds.
That's almost a minute more than what Italy had to make this push. But we also saw Italy was really able to get it at the far distance here towards the end of that second point. So maybe Denmark might have their work cut out for them yet, as Italy understands the trouble that it's going to take to get to the end of this point.
Now, still maintaining the high ground. You see, ooh, almost gets a nice pick, though, onto Lil Young. That would have been critical for them to get early, but they're able to survive through it. Ultimates now 3, going to be 4 stacked in favor of Denmark, but still, the return by Italy. Here comes now the self-destruct. Sigma, lots of ultimates, no kill by the self-destruct. Sigma gaining value, bringing them on the high ground to make sure that they can get the pick, but Narga gonna go down frozen just before they could escape, as the Death Blossom comes from high overhead on the side of Italy defensively to try and keep the applied pressure. Now with the Blizzard wanting to secure this momentum, stopping moving forward at all, as Italy's going to clean up here, force them back at the final kills, and Denmark now looking to regroup.
Denmark's going to regroup, and they're going to have the Death Blossom as well as the Coalescence, as well as the Blizzard. So many tools in their kit to really segment the team of Italy, and that might be what they need. Like, it's been so difficult for them to play against this team as 6v6, but if they're able to kind of catch one out in the open, then they've really been able to take that as an opportunity.
Oh, they almost got that pick early again onto Lil Young. So much just aggression by Lil Young, leaving themselves out in the open, but surviving through it, getting enough assistance from their team. And Denmark, they're stacking up those ultimates. They've got 3. They're in a good spot. They want to try and find a potential opportunity to get the pick here as they continue to press on near this payload. Nobody really going down just yet as the Coalescence comes out, Necra, and they're just going to look for a Death Blossom too.
Now they are looking for the Death Blossom, but we're seeing the kill feed light up with blue. Italy not able to keep control of this defense, and Denmark bowling them over right now. We have potentially one last fight here to determine who's going to be moving on to the grand finals, Rich.
Having the supercharger, they want to secure it. Denmark doesn't want to play any more games. They've already had quite an adventure ahead of them in that bracket, and they look to clear this up. That golden box of victory, literally standing next to a not so golden box of victory. As you can see them side by side, but it is the one that is lit up for them to reach. They have to make it. Supercharger now dropped. Blizzard by Fisher, holding on patiently. Wall now gonna maybe drop it, playing patiently on the inside. Won't be able to get the cryo freeze up, as Italy looks like they have the numbers advantage. Flux on the high ground, though, coming out by Narg. Does get taken down very, very quickly is Shax. Italy, you have to see Denmark fall back. They cannot stay in this. They cannot afford to stick in this fight.
No, and why would you? When you know you have 2 minutes left, Rich, they still have a sizable amount of time in their advantage to really be able to take this, and they didn't invest too much into that last fight except for the Sigma ultimate, and so they still have 3 ultimates. They might even have Death Blossom online at the end of this next one if they're able to sustain through what Italy has prepared for them.
Last opportunity here, I feel, for Italy. Potentially 2 with 2 minutes to go. They have to hold on to this. They want to take it to another map. Blizzard by Fisher. They almost get the stun onto Little Young on the high ground. Wall gonna come in. Here comes a Blizzard though by both sides. No, correction, it's gonna actually be Hearth trying to turn it, but the Dead Blossom comes out immediately brought down. There's too many members down on the side of Italy. Denmark wants to finish it. They're so moments away, and now Narga going down. They might just have enough here. That Blizzard forcing them close enough away from the payload. Just these late staggers, they have the respawn advantage, but the wall is there. Can they go around it as they've just got a few moments to contest against it, and the supercharger now to be dropped. Extra damage will have the Wraith form coming up by the Reaper, and now Lil Young just staggering one after another. Diva wrecking ball, everything throwing their bodies. The wall will keep it, forcing the Diva back. Lucio to boop, but that's not gonna matter. Denmark is going to claim it. 3-1, first to 3, as they will move into the grand finals of the Eurocup fundraising tournament.
What incredible gameplay we've seen from both of these teams the entire set, but it is going to be Denmark coming out on top, and I've got to say, has a lot to do with having that Sigma on their side. I was giving Diva a lot of props, but there's just some things that Sigma's able to do a little bit better, and when you have that ultimate at your disposal to really pick apart the team and choose your battles, I think that just plays to your strengths there.
It really does. And I mean, what a stellar play from both sides. And again, like we kind of talked, Italy having, that kind of somewhat smooth ride going into this match, the
Mhm.
first one to really test their strength, and Denmark having persevered through it, going and bringing them into that grand finals. It was a really, really stellar set of gameplay. And again, like we talked about, that Orisa Sigma has been
Yeah.
so substantial and is doing so well right now that I'm hoping to see that same type of charisma and gameplay going into that grand finals with Denmark to see who they're going to be facing soon enough.
So I think that when looking at Denmark and how they play as a unit, I think that they're going to be a super formidable opponent, regardless of who they end up playing against in the grand finals. Just like there's so many micro adjustments that you have to make with that composition, the timing of when you put up a wall, when you end up diving a specific target and really honing in on that, and
Mhm.
also taking out all of the other counterparts, when to use your ultimates, when to actually act a little bit reactive. Like you can see the wheels kind of turning in my head because that
Mhm.
is just how clinical you have to play that composition to get it to work. And Denmark just did it a little bit better.
It really is. And as we take the time now to see who is going to be going into the grand finals, it has been an absolute pleasure, Necra, having you as the co-caster today. I cannot tell you how exciting
Anytime.
it was to see these two. And again, for those that have been watching, there is still time for you to support and fund these teams to potentially be at the World Cup themselves as Denmark continues to go towards that #1 spot.
Mhm.
You can find out more information again in the lower section of the Twitch channel here on Monkey Bubble's channel that you are watching live right now. Go support, give your donations, buy some merchandise. It'll go right to the teams, a percentage of it, so you can help them. As we have also want to be very thankful to Monkey Bubble allowing us to have this production capable for all of you that are watching. Have a lovely rest of your day, a better weekend, and we look to see you with everybody else back for the grand finals.